Hello everyone, I'm Nadia Esya. I'm a nursing student from School of Health and Science Panti Waluya, Malang. And here, I want to talk about a phenomenon that we may often hear about on our society from the news, from the media social, or maybe from the people closest to us. But before we started, let me ask you some questions. At the first, how hard your life is, how suffer you are, how you solve it all, and what makes you still strong until now, and have you ever thought about suicide? I'm sure that we all have many diverse answers about this, but maybe some of you are a little bit surprised when you listen my last question. Have you ever talked about suicide? Suicide? What is suicide? We often hear a lot of suicide cases from both young and old people ending their lives by suicide, but it seems that the discussion about suicide is still a taboo and sensitive issue to talk about. But in fact, suicide is something that we must to eliminate, not just normalize it because we often hear or maybe we saw in our society. But should we just turn a blind eye to face this situation, or maybe should we take an action about this issue? I'm a part of young generation in Indonesia, and I choose to take an action about this issue. But why? What action should I do? Why is it so important for me, and what's the advantage I will get from this? Based on World Health Organization data, more than 700,000 people die by suicide every year. And how about in Indonesia? In Indonesia, the data from Indonesian police shows that the numbers of deaths due to suicide in 2023 increased up to 1,350 cases from 826 cases in the previous year. And it's so high cases for me. And this number may increase every year if there are no efforts to prevent suicide. And now we got one of the several reasons why we should be a part of change agent about this issue. It's because the case of death due to suicide is very, very high. But how does all this happen? What makes someone choose to commit suicide? Let me tell you something. Adolescence is a time when there are various changes in life, such as the desire to find oneself, emotional and psychological change. And many teenagers also think that their lives are worthless and meaningless. But in this modern era, we know that we live in the world of instant. We want everything fast, we want everything instant, and we hang high expectation. So what? So when the reality doesn't match the expectation that we build, it is not uncommon for someone to be unprepared in expressing their disappointment, their sadness, their despair, and many of them choose to keep and hide their emotion to themselves. And also, apart from that, there's also widespread bullying, both verbal, non-verbal, and cyberbullying. And not all the teenagers are strong enough to face bullying. So, bullying is also one of the causes of intimidation that can lead someone to commit to suicide. When we view from the perspective of society on this issue, there are still many of us who underestimate this issue of mental health. They assume that if they look physically healthy, it means like their mentally is healthy too, but it's not really. And also, some of people who think mental health is not so important, and not a few who thinks that suicide happens only because they are less close to God, or they say, oh, you are weak faith, or you are lack of gratitude, you are do not appreciate life, and anything else who makes our spirit of life comes down. Without realizing that perspective like this makes someone who is struggling to find the spirit of life even more mentally burned. It is not uncommon for people to judge and maybe even make their spirit even more down and low. And now, I want to ask you a question again. Is there still a reason for us to remain silent and let suicide cases increase? I guess no. But it's our time to make a change. Maybe it's too difficult for ourselves to change this alone. But we are together. We can start a little change from ourselves to a big change. There are several things we can do to keep ourselves from societal talks. At the first, we must be able to recognize ourselves, feelings, and emotion. We must know how we solve our problems that occur in our lives. If we start to feel unusual things such as the prolonged feelings of sadness, excessive anxiety, so please immediately find ways to manage our emotion. It's okay, it's normal to seek for help. And also, we have to avoid excessive stress by keeping yourself busy with positive things. We all have stress. I have stress, you have stress, and we all have stress too. But if we focus too much on it, it can actually worsen our condition. So try to fill it with doing activities that we like, so we can not to focus about our stress. And the third, overcome negative thoughts. When we have several problems, it is very possible that sometimes the idea of suicide comes to our mind. This is one of the signs that someone needs help. So immediately, if we know that someone uh, trying to say that their life is meaningless, that their life is worthless, immediately divert those and attention so as not to think about the idea of suicide again, or maybe you can help someone with that. In addition, for a broader change, we can start to care about the people around us. We must be able to be more sensitive and recognize people who need our help. So please immediately seek help if we find someone showing these symptoms. And let's change our society's view about suicide. No one wants to end their life by suicide, and we never know how difficult their life and their problem they face. So let's be a strong generation who have a strong soul, faith, and fabulous dream for the future of Indonesia's youth generation. We can if we are together. Maybe it's too late for us to realize this, but it's better late than never. If we take steps today, we will have so much brighter for tomorrow. So it's not only your hope, it's not only my hope, but it's our Indonesianist hope. That's all for me. Thank you.